Probably
Square.
end up dissolving all the fillers, and then we did have a facelift. So
My son, my brother had just passed,
our brother.
and became one of the top engineering companies in all of China.
In 2018, in a recording studio in Florida, two 44-year-old twin sisters from Middletown, Connecticut, walked up to a microphone, took a deep breath, and recorded a song called Lock Your Number. The producer thought it was a passion project. The fans thought it was a joke. The critics thought it was a cry for attention. And the internet, true to form, laughed, loud and long. They laughed at the auto-tune. They laughed at the lyrics. They laughed at the very idea that the same women who had cried over Jessie Meester on national television were now trying to become pop stars. The reviews were brutal. The streams were modest. The hype died fast. And anybody watching from the outside would have said, well, that's the end of the Silva Twins' music career. Except fans. That was not the end. That was the beginning. Welcome back to the Tell-All Tapes, your home for the most honest 90-Day Fiancé documentaries on YouTube. Tonight's story is one of the most surprising stories in the entire franchise. The story of two reality TV stars who refused to quit. Two twin sisters who, no matter how hard the world laughed at them, kept showing up to the recording studio. Two women who turned a joke into a brand into a billboard, and a billboard into a comeback. This is the full Silva Twins music career. From Lock Your Number to Always in My Heart to From a Connecticut Basement to Times Square. From cringe to comeback. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you might just be downloading their songs yourself. Let's go back. Way back. Before any of this. Before 90 Day Fiancé. Before Tom. Before Jessie. Before Florian. Before Georgie. Darcey and Stacey Silva have always had two great loves, fashion and music. The fashion side became House of 11, the brand they built in honor of their late brother Michael Silva. The music side took longer to find its form, but it was always there. In 2013, when their company 11th Entertainment was producing an indie rap comedy film called White Tea, the Silva Twins recorded background vocals for one of the songs on the soundtrack. They were not credited as solo artists. They were not pitched as singers. They were just twin sisters lending their voices to a side project that nobody outside of a small indie audience was going to hear. But it planted the seed. They had been in a recording booth. They stood in front of a microphone. They had felt what it was like to lay down a vocal track, and the dream was born. By 2018, the dream was no longer a dream. The dream was an EP. The dream was a label. The dream was the Silva Twins. The very first single they released was Lock Your Number. The song was unveiled at Miami Swim Week in 2018, with the twins in matching outfits to their own song in front of a Fashion Week crowd. The single was a partnership with producer Freddie Roan, who had worked with the twins before. The song was described in the twins' own words as a fun, upbeat, EDM pop and dance single that made you want to dance as soon as you heard it. Darcey told In Touch that it was inspired by the ultimate feeling of confidence and was meant to bring empowerment to enjoy life at any phase or age. The song dropped on Spotify. It dropped on iTunes. It dropped on me. And then, fans. The entire internet found it. Some fans loved it. Some fans said it was catchy. Some fans posted things like, "You and your twin rock. Love you guys." But other fans were less generous. The criticism focused on three things: the auto-tune, the vocals, and the question of whether the twins were really artists or whether they were just famous people taking advantage of a moment. Critics jumped on Twitter and YouTube. Memes were made. Reaction videos were posted, and the most cutting comment, the one that kind of summed up the entire backlash, came from a fan who simply wrote, "Honey, no. Whoever said you ladies could sing was lying to you." That kind of criticism would have ended most reality TV music careers right there. Most reality stars who try to become singers have a one-song flop and then quietly go back to whatever it was they were doing before. Not Darcey and Stacey, not the Silva Twins. Because here is what people consistently underestimate about these two women. They do not care what you think. They have been laughed at since middle school. They have been bullied for their faces, their bodies, their choices, their relationships. They have been mocked on every platform that exists. And after all that, fans, they have built one of the most enduring brands in reality TV history. So a few mean YouTube comments? Honey, That's lunch. That's a Monday. That's not even on the radar. So in 2019, just a year after Lock Your Number, the twins came back with a second song. But this one was different. This one was personal. The song was called Always in My Heart. It was a tribute to their brother, to Michael Silva, the same Michael whose birthday was on the 11th of May and who passed away on the 11th of July in 1998 from Ewing's sarcoma. The same Michael whose memory had inspired the name House of 11. The same Michael who, 21 years after his death, was still the unspoken anchor of every Silva family decision. Always in My Heart was the twins' attempt to put grief into music, to honor a brother they had loved their whole lives, to turn a private pain into a public song. And here is the heartbreaking part, fans. The song was, by most measures, panned. Listeners on YouTube criticized it. Critics said it lacked vocal strength. The song didn't get the radio play, the streams, or the praise the twins had hoped for. Imagine that. Imagine pouring your most personal grief, your most sacred family memory, into a song that you offer to the world, and the world responds by tearing it apart. That would be enough to break most people. Most people would shut down. Most people would quit music entirely. Not Darcey. Not Stacey. They kept singing, because Michael had not stopped being their brother, so they would not stop making music in his honor. That, fans, is loyalty. That is the kind of stubborn, beautiful, defiant loyalty that turns a flop into a legacy. By 2023, the twins were back in the studio again. This time, they were recording a song to celebrate their House of 11 brand and a collaboration with the sneaker company Impossible Kicks. Cameras were rolling for Darcey and Stacey Season 4. The twins arrived at the studio in Miami. Their producer, a man named Phil, was honest with them in a way that was almost painful to watch. Phil straight up told the cameras that the twins were not the greatest singers, but they did just enough to get by. He even noted that it would take what he called an act of God for them to pull off a truly great recording. Even Darcey's own daughters, Aniko and Aspen Balak, watching the studio session, openly questioned whether the twins were really meant to be singers. They wondered out loud if a lot of auto-tune might save the song. Imagine your daughters watching you record a song and asking the camera if the producers can technologically fix your vocal performance. That is the kind of moment that lives in TV history forever. But again, the twins did not flinch. They kept going. Darcey, by all accounts, got her part down in just a few takes. Stacey took a little longer, but she pushed through. The song was finished, the collaboration was completed, the product launched, and the twins moved on to their next project. Because the next project, fans, is always coming when you are a Silva. Then, in early 2025, the twins teased something big. Darcey shared a clip of herself singing in a studio. She captioned her Instagram story with the line that fans are still talking about. Stay tuned, your Silva twins, Darcey and Stacey, are back. The hint was clear. Something was coming. Something new. Something the world had not heard yet. And in April of 2025, after years of build-up, the comeback dropped. The song was called. The twins teamed up with the musical artist and what they called their dream team. The real announcement on Instagram read, "Our song is officially out everywhere." Darcey wrote, "We are doing it big this time." She thanked the entire team. She called it her and Stacey's greatest honor to work with everyone involved. And then she shared a clip of the music video, with the twins rapping about their exciting lives, dressed in glam outfits, looking like the boss babes they had spent 15 years training to be. Fans. The response was different. Was it a Grammy contender? No. Was it going to break the Billboard Hot 100? No. But the reception was warmer. The vibes were better. The production was tighter. The collaboration with a real working artist gave the project credibility it had never had before. And critically, the song dropped at exactly the moment the twins were also being featured in a glossy editorial in Surreal magazine, with their faces blown up on a billboard in Times Square, New York, the center of the world. Two women from Middletown, Connecticut, who had been told by their daughters and their producers and their critics that they could not sing, were now on a billboard in Times Square promoting their newest single. Let me say that again. They were on a billboard in Times Square promoting their song as recording artists after being told for years that they could not do it. That, fans, is the comeback story. That is the Silva Twins' music career in a nutshell. It is not the story of two flawless vocalists who took the world by storm. It is the story of two stubborn, fearless, slightly delusional, completely loyal twin sisters who refused to let anybody decide what they were allowed to do with their own voices. It is the story of two women who turned every flop into a lesson, every bad review into more determination, every mean comment into more material. Every loss of a brother is a tribute. Every moment in a recording studio is another step forward. And eventually, after all those steps, they made it to Times Square. Now you might be sitting here thinking, but they still are not great singers. Maybe you're right. Maybe they never will be. Maybe they will never have a #1 hit. Maybe the auto-tune jokes will follow them forever. But here's what I want you to understand. Most reality TV stars never even try. Most of them get one season of fame and then disappear into cameo and brand deals and Instagram thirst traps. Most of them have nothing left to show by the time their TLC contract ends. Darcey and Stacey, somehow, have built an empire that nobody can take away. They have a clothing brand, a production company, a movie credit, a music catalog, Spotify streams, Apple Music plays, a billboard in Times Square, and a willingness to keep showing up that, frankly, most professional artists do not even have. That is not luck. That is hustle. That is heart. That is the Silva swag, fans. That is what Stacey actually meant when she said on that 2023 recording session that she and her sister had voices people had never heard before. She did not mean it musically. She meant it spiritually. She meant that nobody has ever sounded like them, not because of their notes, but because of their nerves. Behind all of this, by the way, is a production company that almost nobody talks about. It is called 11th Entertainment. Darcey and Stacey co-founded it. It was the company behind the indie film White Tea. It is the entity that has, in various forms, supported their music releases over the years. So while critics have been mocking the twins for thinking they can sing, the twins have quietly built the infrastructure of an actual entertainment business. Production credits, music releases, brand collaborations. They are not just artists. They are executives. They run the company that releases the music. They are not waiting for Sony or Universal to call. They are calling themselves. And that, fans, is the part of the Silva story that the gossip blogs have never properly told. Now, what does the future look like? Where does the music go from here? As of late 2025 and into 2026, the twins have continued to drop new songs. They have continued to perform. They have continued to collaborate, and Darcey has hinted multiple times that more music is coming. Whether the music will ever cross over into mainstream success is anyone's guess. Whether they will collaborate with bigger artists, whether they will get on a real label, whether they will headline a tour, all of it is uncertain. But what is certain is that they are not going to stop. Stopping is not in the Silva playbook. Quitting is not in the family DNA. As long as Darcey and Stacey are alive, breathing, and twin, there will be more songs. There will be more singles. There will be more music. And every single one, in some small way, will be a tribute to their brother Michael. Because that is what 11 means. That is what every song they record is really about. Family, loss, defiance, survival, and the refusal to let the world decide your worth. So I want to leave you with the questions, fans. Tell me in the comments below. Honestly, have you actually listened to Lock Your Number? Have you heard Always in My Heart? Have you streamed? And if so, what do you really think? Are the Silva twins underrated as musicians? Are they overhyped? Are they somewhere in between? And do you respect them for refusing to quit, even when their producer told them it would take an act of God? Tell me where you stand. And tell me this too. If you had to put one of their songs on a playlist tonight, which one would it be? Drop the title in the comments. Let's see which Silva song the fans actually rate the highest. If you have ever pursued a dream that other people laughed at and you kept going anyway, drop a microphone emoji in the comments below. Let's flood the comments with microphones tonight, fans. For Darcey, for Stacey, for Michael, for everybody who has ever been told they were not good enough and kept going anyway. If this hits you somewhere real, smash that like button. Subscribe to the Tell All Tapes for new 90-day Fiancé documentaries every single week. Share this with the friend you always send the chaotic Darcey TikToks to. They need to hear this. This was the Tell All Tapes, and we will see you in the next one.